One phrase which I've heard repeated more than a few times here this evening today has been building at population scale, for population scale. What exactly, how should one think about that? I mean, I think you've used that as well.
Well, when you say population scale is how do you build digital infrastructure for 1.4 billion people? That's what population scale means. Now, how do you do that, right? You have to do things so that you have the distribution infrastructure to reach everybody. Now, if you take Aadhaar, we had 35,000 enrollment stations. We did 50 enrollments per day. So across the ecosystem of enrollment stations, we had 1.5 million enrollments a day, the largest thing, which is why we could get to 1 billion people in 7 years. So that's about population scale. Similarly, anything about UPI, how do you get to, today we have 350 million people who are paying with UPI, but tomorrow with natural Indian language capability, with voice recognition, with feature phone, with UPI Lite, suddenly you will go to 400-500 million people using it. So everything, and I think also credit to the mobile industry. I think our mobile industry has always shown that if you really produce a very cheap network, whether it's voice initially or now for data, 700 million people are going to use it to see. So you can, population scale simply means something that the entire population can get access to. So architecturally, it has to be at scale. It has to be very low cost. It has to be very low transaction amounts because people can't afford big amounts. It has to be sachet sized. And it has to be done interoperably so everybody can participate.
Do we, will it happen in small increments, this takeoff, or will we have a 2016 type moment, which you described earlier here, in your opinion?
No, I think we're already seeing, again, I don't want to steal Koshi's thunder, but they already have thousands of transactions happening on ONDC. And Namayatri, which has been a sleeper success, is doing 80,000 transactions a day. That's non-trivial. I mean, 80,000 transactions in Bangalore is as big as anybody else. And they've done it without spending millions on marketing. It's just by word of mouth. The auto rickshaw driver has become the biggest salesman because he's getting the full benefit. So, so new market models are emerging. So I think many of the ideas here will have that kind of virality of growth because they're fundamentally so much more powerful than what exists. So I'm pretty confident that it'll happen fairly fast.
Rajiv, discounts, right? I mean, that was one thing which got a lot of attention, I think, about a year ago, maybe less than that, with ONDC, Zomato. I mean, there was a fair bit of discussion around it, whether this is only going to be viable if there are discounts, etc. involved. That's not the case anymore. But just incentivizing both buyers and sellers on the network, what are the ways and how do you guys think about it?
I have a very founder view to it. In Urban Ladder, when we started Urban Ladder, 11 years back, we said absolutely no discounts, right? And the brand was built on getting the right customer into the platform and buying the furniture, right? And even, of course, today, Urban Ladder is, of course, a different company. But I think the founders who use that understand that something is really basic and you need to incentivize. But outside of that, if there is at least an understanding of that there is a particular level that the buyer has reached in terms of understanding of a platform or a seller, you should generally avoid it, right? Because that requires a lot of money to flow in through someone. Now, kickstarting something, e-commerce would have never started if Flipkart or Amazon didn't offer those discounts, right? You wouldn't have had. But the moment those points at the cost of someone's capital have been reached, I think you should absolutely go and do it the right way. And today we believe that given the last year of whatever has happened, there is a point and a seminal point in the ONDC network where you need very good solutions, right? You need someone to take care of, great logistics service. Otherwise, if I buy something there and, it's not serviced properly, then I'm not going to get a great experience. Then I won't come back. So I think it has gone beyond that today. As long as I'm getting the product I want, getting the service I want, able to understand whom to buy from, those basic 101 buyer experiences, and the same for the seller, right? For me to put there, manage inventory, get right visibility. If I'm able to do all of that, people will come across different categories, not just food and grocery, which are here and now, which is how things usually start. But you can do it across fashion, and now the innovation layer has to be built, right? Whether that's voice, whether that's digitizing a bunch of products in a store, a lot of those innovations will come. I do believe that there is a huge potential for it to take off without having to do all of what e-commerce had to do when it started.
Mr. Nilekani, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the one of the reasons for the rapid takeoff is the behavior change already happened. Right? You're already used to buying online or ordering an auto or a car and all. So you can just transfer that behavior change onto these platforms. So in some sense, this is a second generation way of making e-commerce happen.
We've got lots of founders here, as both Rajiv and Nitin were talking about. If you had to give them, what advice would you give them to build on ONDC? What should they take away, really?
Well, first of all, I think genuinely innovative ideas which make a difference to customers. I mean, ultimately, it's about creating value. But I think, in general, all business is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about playing for the long haul and building great companies. So that's what I hope will happen out here.
Nitin, you were telling me earlier about a company, a payments company, right? I mean, which is the Switch, as you described it. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I thought that was a great example of a company which is already...
Plotch?
Yeah, Plotch.
Yeah. I think Manoj is in the audience somewhere. So as most people in the audience recognize by now, the general framework for ONDC and similarly on maybe other applications on backend will be, there's a seller side, a buyer side, seller app, buyer app, and then infrastructure in between. And what Plotch is we believe right now, one of the first movers, a leader in this space of creating those building blocks, those picks and shovels, right? Node management. So seller apps, buyer apps will need to have nodes. Now the infrastructure is open source and it's certainly meant to be that way. But large organizations will probably still be helped by a party in the middle that helps them understand node infrastructure, node to node payments, and specific things like reconciliations. So that's what Plotch is doing, and the founding team actually is a great example of a team that has been, so some founders here may have been in e-commerce earlier, and some may not be. Some of you may have been mobility, some not. But I think that's a good example of a team that has built and really understood the e-commerce stack for many years with Craftsvilla. And now they've, before we found them, they had taken a jump into the ONDC infrastructure. They were already building this. So we're very proud and optimistic about them.
And you've written them a check, is what you...
Yes, we have. It's public, yes.
Okay. Mr. Nilekani, when 10, 15 years back, people used to say when there was a new thing which came to India, we used to say, or rather something got started here, we would hear, well, it's never been done anywhere else in the world. I don't think anyone says that now with everything that we've done here with all the digital public infrastructure. Do you think ONDC and the backend protocol, they have, use cases outside India, they can sort of cross borders and be applied elsewhere as well?
Oh, I think so. I think in some sense, if you look at all the DPIs we have built, the one which is probably the most portable across the world is actually backend and ONDC, because one, it's really a market thing. It doesn't require government. It can be anybody can pick it up. The second thing is that it's a felt need everywhere else. Everybody wants to reorganize their resources using this kind of infrastructure. And I think, I believe, again, I don't know whether they'll talk about it in the panel, but there is a lot of global interest in this architecture.
But just to take a slightly longer view, one statistic I heard, I think you've also mentioned in your speeches and talks elsewhere, is that digital e-com penetration is only about 4-5%. I think you put that up on the slide as well.
Well, that's a McKinsey statistic.
Yeah. So is that, do you think the ONDC will accelerate that in a very fast way?
Yeah. See, look at it. What are the various things, right? One is mobility is coming. They've just launched. Again, if I mention something, I'm told that's not public news, so I have to keep my mouth shut. But anyway, they've launched in multiple cities, so mobility is happening. Food is happening in a big way. Goods are happening. Hyperlocal is happening. We have, Paytm is there, PIN code is there. So I think you're seeing more and more people willing to bet on this. And then, of course, all the startups that Antler supports. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I think on that a very optimistic note, we'll leave it there. Let's hope that ONDC can do to commerce what UPI did to payments. I think your words, not mine. Thank you very much, Mr. Nilekani. Appreciate you joining in. Nitin and Rajiv, appreciate your time as well. Thanks very much.